My name is Stanisław Wosiński. I hold a doctorate in engineering and I specialize in an unusual topic, water. But not just any water. I focus on water trapped in porous structures, designed to protect, for example, walls and, in turn, humans from harmful radiation. This trapped energy, collected through the absorption of radiation, is intended to naturally reduce the concentration of viruses and bacteria suspended in the air, in aerosols exhaled by people indoors. Until now, pathogens were destroyed using biocides in paints. But for several years now, the use of biocides in interior paints has been banned. Why? Because they are carcinogenic. Studies have shown that pregnant women exposed to these substances gave birth to children with health complications. Today, only a small amount of in-can preservatives are permitted, just enough to keep the paint fresh while stored in the container. After a few days on the wall, that paint should no longer contain any toxic compounds. Some alternatives include metal oxides, but none of these substances are truly neutral. That's where my invention comes in. ADR Technology, short for Advanced Dielectric Radiation Trap. The concept is simple. Radiation gets trapped in a dielectric, a material that sits between an electrical conductor and an insulator. My scientific mission was to create such a dielectric material that anyone, even a homeowner without construction training, could use. A water-soluble powder that can be applied as a wall impregnation to achieve a protective effect. But why wasn't such a material available before? Well, the topic is a bit complex and I won't go deep into theory here. For such a material to work, you need not only the right technology, but also energy. This material can be applied to antiviral masks, walls, fabrics, or building materials like roofing membranes. The base is water as a dielectric, which stores spatial electric charge, but it also requires energy to activate. As radiation levels on Earth increased, from the days of Edison and Tesla through today's wireless technologies, my calculations indicated that the time had finally come to develop this material. When applied to a wall, it can trigger a self-cleaning effect, destroying viruses and bacteria on contact. And it worked. The mathematics was complex, but I succeeded. The final step was laboratory verification, and the results were confirmed in certified virological and bacteriological testing. In these tests, a virus placed on the paint made from this product was inactivated by 4 logarithmic levels. That means the viral load dropped from millions to just 64 units within 24 hours. Similar results were achieved with bacteria. From there, I faced logistical questions. Only one paint was formulated this way, but many people and applications required it. That's why I decided the most effective format would be powder, a universal form that could be dissolved and used with various paints, or applied as an independent sealer. It's ecological, easy to transport, and completely safe. Most of its ingredients are commonly used in food production, or rather, in food-related industries. These are hydrates. The idea is simple. Use existing wall surfaces and apply this sealer before or even after painting, especially in areas where people spend time. Another key innovation was the idea that the wall could actually absorb harmful aerosols from the air. Why do we need walls when viruses and bacteria are still floating in the air in aerosols? Material science offers a solution here. Aerosols have a different electrical charge than the wall. Therefore, the wall can attract and trap them. The Earth, being electrically neutral, draws charge from the wall. The wall, in turn, draws charge from the air. This was the principle we applied, and it worked. The final phase of the project involved direct virological and bacteriological tests of the impregnation itself. We now offer 2 product forms, Etrofit sol walls for walls and ALSol fabric for textiles. I often think if only I had released this earlier, during the pandemic, we might have seen even greater impact. Another idea emerged, the mask. I realized this technology could be ideal for masks, but to function optimally, it needs a slightly elevated humidity level. When breathing, the mask naturally becomes moist, which activates the effect. It also requires ambient energy. And where do we face the most pathogens? Indoors. We also have the most energy indoors from phones, routers, and electrical devices. This technology uses a broad spectrum from 0.1 Hz to 6 GHz from natural and artificial sources alike. Even changes in the weather can supply energy for it to function. There's a critical point, a phenomenon related to electric charge transfer. Without going into detail, the idea is simple. When a virus touches the wall, a micro short circuit occurs, triggering deactivation, a drop in the viral load. Returning to masks, they're designed to seal via an aluminum strip. But even if we aren't infected, breathing exposes us to live pathogens. These can pass through any tiny opening. This technology allows those particles to be absorbed and neutralized with each breath. I believe it's one of the most promising uses of this invention. That's why I'm currently conducting additional research on mask materials, to prove to the world that this solution is not only possible, it already exists. This technology is patented in many countries, including across Europe, the USA, Brazil, and even China. For this work, I've received numerous medals and awards. In truth, this research has been ongoing for over 20 years. And it seems that only now, with sufficient environmental energy, is the time right. Some say technologies like 5G bring harm, but for me, that same energy paradoxically enabled this breakthrough to become usable and helpful on a wide scale. Today, several paint manufacturers are evaluating the technology and may even integrate it into their products. But as the inventor, I believe in demonstrating it directly to the user to show it works and that it's needed. This is the phenomenon known as electroporation. Viruses have a protective shell, the capsid, surrounding their RNA or DNA. Disrupting it requires enough energy. If we don't have enough energy in joules, we can still achieve the effect through power. That is a brief but intense discharge. Think of it like a lightning bolt. It doesn't need to last long. Microseconds are enough. And that's how this works. Not through the powder itself, but through trapped water. Because water is a dipole electrically charged and capable of storing energy, which can be discharged at material boundaries. This is the Maxwell-Wagner-Sillars effect, my area of specialization. But I usually avoid using overly technical language, so I'll explain it like this. Imagine a lightning strike. Even on a clear day, no rain, no ionized gas, a cloud can still release a fatal bolt of electricity because charge builds up until it hits a critical threshold and discharges in a powerful pulse. That's how this technology works.
Recent studies conducted at M&R Lab have shown that the product has the same effect on molds as it does on viruses and bacteria.